we're going to Cuba.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna. The way I feel about it is take this dad to Cuba because my dad really wants to go to Cuba.
Yeah, I mean,
Cuba, yes.
One of our guests, friend of the show, Noah, has been to Cuba. So clearly, the answer
Very
is
envious.
you have to get your dad to stop calling them all like shit libs and get him to join DSA long enough that they send him to Cuba on like a fact finding mission.
I love
there
that.
You go.
Yeah, I do love that. You know, for people like you know what? I'm not going to speak ill of Philly DSA. I don't need those mentions in my. I don't need those mentions on Twitter.
We have
again.
a lot of DSA people who like follow us and like us. And
yes,
stuff.
I by and large appreciate what DSA is doing. And now to air my personal grievances with Philly DSA.
Yeah, which will now take the rest of the episode. The episode lasts for 6 hours.
It's already gonna be a long one.
No, you said it was gonna be short, you motherfucker.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh, this will be a nice and easy one. 2 weeks later.
We are starting at 11 p.m. my time. I have been working for, by my count, 6 hours. And I have a train at 11:30 tomorrow morning. So
all right,
let's fucking do it.
All right, let's fucking do it. Just one thing. I hate to plug here, but like Bridgerton season 3 part 2 is out.
You motherfucker.
I know.
Yeah, because really needs our help.
No, it's on Plex. It's on Plex. Can you bleep Devin and do it again there, please? If you want the invite to my Plex server, DM me on Twitter.
It's funny if you. It's funnier if you don't bleep it the second time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Tell me about the ship. Let's go.
What do you see on the screen in front? Oh wait, no, we got to introduce the podcast.
God fucking damn it, dude! Oh my God!
Christ.
Hello and welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
I am November Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. My pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam.
Hi, I'm Liam McAnderson. My pronouns are he, him. I have no jokes. Let's do this.
All right,
okay.
Perfect.
Boom. What you see on the screen in front of you is a ship. Nothing appears to be wrong with it.
Why are all the boats going opposite direction?
They're going with it as kind of a flotilla situation.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay,
which end of a ship do you think a wake comes out of? Like,
okay. So here's the thing. I'm very stupid. I need you to know this. Oh, okay.
The other thing is, it's not necessary for ships to all be going the same direction, especially if they are, as this appears to be, going through the narrow channel under the Golden Gate Bridge.
I'll show you a narrow channel under the Golden Gate Bridge.
Sure.
I like this ship though. It's sexy. It's got the like kind of sharp lines.
Yes.
The kind of
it looks like it means business.
Angled situation on
That's why I was confused.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Today we're going to talk about the nuclear ship Savannah. Yeah.
Okay.
But first, we have to do the goddamn news.
I have a free hand.
God damn it.
Yes.
Whoops.
With unlimited expenses.
Just leave it. Actually, we're talking about the army, so you might as well. Yeah, it's fine.
Yep.
All right. So what we're going to do instead of just opening the land crossings into Gaza is something far more stupid and absurd, right? And then we're going to fuck everything up. Do I have the gist of that?
Oh, yeah. So the aid pier that the Army construction brigades, or whatever they're called, the Transportation Corps built, it sort of floated away, and then they rebuilt it, and then they used it to do war crimes.
Yeah, and then it floated away again.
Yeah.
Like, they had two consecutive storms with an interstitial war crime.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused here. I actually thought I was in a minority here. I thought this would work a lot better than it did.
It's one of those things that seemed like it should have done.
Did, yes.
I know it was always going to be marginal in terms of the amount of aid that like was going to get delivered through it, and like the only solution was to like force the Israelis' hand on like opening the land crossings. But like, I thought it would do more than nothing, and then also one war crime.
That was not my expectation. I figure, all right, ships are big, you can deliver a lot of stuff with them, but.
Yeah, I mean, this floating harbor shit, they used it in Normandy. Like, work to supply a whole army in D-Day on like a bigger scale. So like you'd think, okay, well they're not gonna like half-ass this, and it's not gonna like get blown away, and they're not gonna let the fucking IDF use it to launch like hostage rescue missions that they kill 200 civilians in.
200 odd civilians, just and then they get four guys back, and one of them complains, "Oh my God, family I was placed
Hamas
with
made me a birthday cake." Sarcastically,
they made me do the dishes. Oh my God,
it's real ISIS stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
not
to say that it's not also a war crime on a technical basis, but like, come on, dude.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Palestinians who make it out of the Israeli torture camps are like, yeah, they shoved the metal rod up my anus.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
discrepancy here.
If the IDF limited itself in its mistreatment of captives to sarcastic birthday cake, I would have probably way fewer criticisms, but they don't, so I do. Sarcastic birthday cake is going to stick in my head for a minute. But yeah, so once again, Joe Biden is the most craven motherfucker in the world.
Good work for it.
He should be protested against every day of his life.
This thing's an embarrassment to everyone involved.
Yeah, I feel like I want to take this peer's fucking badge,
Yeah,
it's an embarrassment to the force.
Yeah. I mean, the Army Transportation Corps should be disbanded at this point.
Bring back the CBs.
What the fuck's going on?
I don't know. I'm already exhausted.
Yeah. So, obviously, horrible genocide continuing in Palestine. If keep protesting. November, you and Devin are doing like a stream for some folks trying to get out of Gaza, right?
Yeah, we were doing. So I know Devin will have more details on this than I do, but they were in touch with a guy and his family who are in Gaza, who has a GoFundMe, and I'm sure we can put that link in. I think we're now also trying to do some more like charity stuff, whether that's like medical aid for Palestinians or like the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. But basically the upshot of this is that our stream, which is traditional Scrench, SCREN.ch is the web link. The Mondays we're doing fundraisers, the Thursdays we're just doing like regular streaming. We've raised a bunch of money already. Good. And hoping to do more so in future. I think we should put some donation links in as well in here.
Sure.
What is it? It costs like some absurd amount of money to get out the Rafah border crossing, which is closed
right now. It's like closed indefinitely because the IDF has cut it off. I don't want to like be in a position of saying that we can like pay to get people through the border because we can't. And right now it's just a situation of like funding people's like living expenses as best we can, and even then that's limited in the sense that like if the IDF wants to like drop a bomb on your head, there's nothing we or anyone can do to stop them. The only person who can is Joe Biden, who
you get an aid package airdropped on your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Several times now.
Exactly. Way to die.
I would say the only other takeaway from this is to never ever trust the actions of the federal government or the United States more generally. Because even the humanitarian stuff is like always has an ulterior motive attached to it, and is also often terribly done just in terms of sheer incompetence.
Yeah,
I'll buy that.
A lesson that we all should have learned in the past 20 years at some point, but like just reinforced and underlined again here.
I think this particular ship may actually come up later in the podcast.
The Roy P. Benavides.
Yeah, figure out what class that is. It
won't be a U.S. Navy. It'll be like a naval auxiliary, like the equivalent of a Royal Fleet auxiliary, like USNS or something.
Like
the hospital ships.
But anyway, so yeah, pier used for war crimes actually.
It's a Bob Hope class roll on roll off vehicle cargo ship. It is a USNS, yeah.
Okay, that's not the one I was thinking of. Not the class I was thinking of then. Anyway, that will come up later though. A similar ship. Anyway, in other news.
Shit. I'm loving the graphics gore happening here.
Yes, I know. Governor Kathy Hochul has, at the very last minute, decided that the MTA congestion pricing plan in New York City, which would charge $15 to drive your car into Manhattan below 60th Street, she decided, well,
fuck you, drop dead.
Yeah, she doesn't like it because she heard some people in a diner talking about it.
In New Jersey, yes.
No, it was a diner. It was a diner next to Grand Central Terminal.
No, it wasn't. It was in New Jersey. Fuck it. It's all New Jersey.
Yeah.
I feel
that's what she said. She did the weird press conference where she said New Jersey like 3 times in a row and then backtracked over it. It was very strange.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in some ways this is one of the few things in which the UK is better off than you guys, in that like our big like political controversy in London was like we already had congestion pricing for like a decade at this point, and our big thing was like a sort of ultra low emission zone. If you guys can't even get like congestion pricing through the door, then you know, God help us. I'm fucking like, you know what?
Yeah.
All right. Once the fucking like axis of resistance or whatever like achieves global hegemony and Xi Jinping has like control of the United States, just pedestrianize Manhattan. And also like anywhere
most
else.
of Manhattan should like not have car access at all. The thing here is this had been planned and legally mandated since 2019. Even Governor Cuomo supported this plan.
Governor Cuomo.
Yeah. But this was due to go in effect on June 30th. It was that close, and it like municipal bonds had already been sent out, based on the revenue this would bring in. This was going to fund $15 billion of improvements to the subway. This was crucial for funding expansions of the subway on 2nd Avenue. And she just comes in at the last seconds like, I heard someone at a diner say they were annoyed by it. So we're postponing this. She didn't say cancel because there's some questions about whether she can cancel it. But now that like all the equipment's installed, the contracts have been signed, the bonds are bonded, she's just like, no. We're not
hurts
doing
New Jerseyans' feelings.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Phil Murphy.
It's a beautiful piece of like state government rat fucking then.
Yeah. So there's a lot of protests which have been going on against this. A lot of New York Democrats are very, very mad about this. The MTA is mad about this. Everyone's mad. No one likes this decision except for 2 or 3 people at the diner that she overheard, apparently. But this is one of the stupidest things to happen in New York City. I mean, it's all sort of couched in, well, we have to, protect New York businesses and whatever. Her suggested way to compensate for this was a significant increase to the payroll tax in New York City. So, that.
Oh, okay.
That's stupid. But yeah. It looks like she may not have the legal authority to postpone it.
Because it like nominally only affects the like city of New York, which is like municipal business, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I understand the only legal barrier to the MTA just going through with it is one document that needs to be signed by the governor, which is possibly a clerical matter as opposed to like
just like
refuse,
just like quiet quitting, refusing to answer her emails.
Yeah, exactly.
Just sending an email that says nah.
Yeah, this is a, I don't know, this is very stupid. I'm going to be interested to see how this, how this continues over the next month, because there's a lot of people who are very interested in getting this congestion pricing done because it is an objectively good thing. I don't, if you're one of the people who are like, this is going to hurt the 2 or 3 low income people who drive into Manhattan every day, I'm kind of like, well, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
That's what
congestion pricing Stalin.
That's what my dad says about Chairman Mao. So, good enough. I'm not joking. That's a real thing he says.
I know. I believe you. Just going to hold it together to get that Cuba trip off the DSA.
Yeah, right.
So let's hope this gets reversed somehow. I believe the lawyers are revving up for a good time on this one.
I look forward to them billing everybody involved a sort of atrocious amount of money.
Yes. I just want to take a quick break and talk about Kathy Hochul's dead, soulless eyes. Look at those.
Government makes you have these.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not usually, as a fat man, one to comment on people's appearance. But I'm going to comment on her eyes that I feel draining my life force from me.
It's not like fundamentally, I think it's a kind of thing that happens to you in government, right? As you just like get the kind of like life force sucked out of you. That's why Obama aged 25 years a second in office.
Yeah, we sure did.
We need Cuomo back. That's the problem. Cuomo wouldn't have done this.
Guy.
Cuomo signed the bill to mandate this.
And then what else did he do, Roz?
A bunch of
things he shouldn't have done.
Yeah. And then also, I just added this in. It doesn't deserve a slide, but
yes, it does.
Happy Doc Ellis Day, everyone.
Poomst?
Doc Ellis pitched a no-hitter on LSD. On this day.
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. Allegedly, but no, it's you know what? We're keeping it. He did it.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, he pitched a no-hitter against the San Diego Padres on this day 50-something years ago.
Beautiful piece of sporting history.
Beautiful piece of sporting history, yes. Anyway, that was the goddamn news.
It was actually yesterday, but we didn't change the thing.
Oh.
It's June 12th.
I stop you fact checking with the end of the news drop.
Okay, all right.
Exactly.
Well, I'll just go fuck myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the podcast. Let's talk about ship propulsion.
Okay. All right. So
how do you move ship
with this many sails? This is a lot of sails, man.
Ship very heavy.
Ship very heavy.
How boat move? Right.
Yeah.
Harness the power of the wind.
Big ass outboard motor.
Big ass outboard motor.
You're sick of rowing.
I am.
So
get back to it, slave boy. No, I don't want to.
Yeah, that's better for ramming speed. Even those things had sails on them. They didn't use all the rowers all the time. But yeah, sails are great. They don't have any fuel that you have to worry about, but they don't work if there's no wind. And it's irritating if the wind is going the wrong way. You can still fudge it though. I don't understand sailing at all. So
it's just it's fun. I was so ready to woman-splain to you there. I was just like, I assume Justin doesn't know about this. Having as a woman of having read at least 3 Master and Commander novels experience, I understand it to be chiefly a matter of tacking, which is kind of asymptotically approaching the wind direction, and the wind is kind of it does you a favor just out of vibes or whatever.
Huh. Okay. I'm still confused.
I also don't understand sailing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You want to sail sort of off the wind a bit.
Oh, at an angle, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the 1800s, we moved to steam power, right?
Our boy Isambard Kingdom Brunel invented the fucking SS Great Eastern, and we never looked back.
It changed the world. Now we did sort of look back. There's still a lot of sails on stuff for a long time. Specifically,
they're trying to look back now because of woke.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically, the triple expansion steam engine shown here. Your big marine steam engine can be a lot more efficient than, let's say, a locomotive steam engine because it just has more space, right? So, in this case, the triple expansion steam engine, the steam comes in the high pressure cylinder. They use it to do work. It comes out slightly lower pressure. It goes into the medium pressure cylinder. They use it to do work. It goes into the very big low pressure cylinder. They use it to do work, and then it's exhausted. And in some cases, recirculated.
Same.
Yeah. So these early steam ships, they're typically coal-fired, and that's very labor-intensive, right?
Yeah, it's a jobs program.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You have to have stokers.
Yep.
You don't just have stokers. The stokers are the guys shoveling the coal into the boiler. You have multiple bunkers at the bottom of the ship, right? And because they are emptied at uneven rates, you actually need guys called trimmers, and their job is to run around with wheelbarrows and shovel coal in and out of bunkers to keep them all level.
Huh.
That sounds
that sounds like I didn't know there were worse jobs than stoking.
Yes.
I guess everybody has to start somewhere. This is the kind of ship equivalent of the mailroom.
I got promoted to stoker.
What a thought.
Now you keep using coal, but you move from the triple expansion steam engine to the steam turbine. Down here, here's an exposed steam turbine. It's got no casing. This uses the high pressure steam more efficiently by shoving it through a series of fan blades, right? Now it has you still have all the problems you had before, but now you have more RPMs. You got more power, but it's much less efficient at low speeds. This is for if you got to go fast. These start to show up in like the very early 1900s. I want to say, I forget what the ship's name was, like Turbinia or something like that.
Cool.
They just show up.
Back when they kind of did the anime waifu thing of just like, we're going to personify and feminize this concept.
Right. Well, I think they showed up unannounced to like a Royal Navy review or something. And we're just like, catch it. Yeah, catch us if you can.
Oh, so when I do it, I get arrested. But like, apparently it's fine if you have like a revolutionary steam engine.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually, we replace coal as the fuel by fuel oil, right? Typically what we call bunker oil. This is the worst and nastiest residue that comes out of the oil refinery.
Hey, but it's got like essential sulfur in it that the earth needs to keep you cool.
Oh yeah, that has been an issue. I don't want to talk about that now. That's going to be too much.
No, go back and listen to the geoengineering episode. Yeah. If we ever do the fossil fuels episode, listen to that.
Oh my God, why are ocean temperatures so hot? Because you are artificially cooling it with high sulfur fuel. Anyway, although I think getting the sulfur out of the fuel is a net benefit. You don't want like uncontrolled release like that. If you're going to do geoengineering, you want a controlled release that's predictable. Anyway, so bunker oil is very cheap. It's very dirty. It's full of sulfur dioxides, nitrogen oxides, all the criteria pollutants. You got the new low sulfur blends that are introduced now. Yeah, the oceans are heating up because of that.
Don't worry about that.
But fuel oils remove your stoking and trimming problem and can be used in existing steam engines and turbines with only a few modifications. But ultimately, for general service, eventually, the internal combustion engine, the marine diesel engine, won out, right? It's much more fuel efficient at all speeds. It's easier to maintain. And everyone loves a 3-story tall engine block, right?
Oh, yeah. These are cool to look at.
Yeah, they're fucking cool.
Every surface getting sort of lightly coated in oil.
Yes. That being said, okay, there's still a lot of room in the ship being taken up by things like the huge engine, the exhaust stack, the fuel bunkers, and so on and so forth. What if you could somehow get rid of all that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like the sound of that. I don't want to go back to sails, though.
Nah, sails aren't very good.
We're going to do something far more foolish.
Mm-hmm. Sails are pretty slow, generally speaking, unless you're one of those, competitive sailing guys. And that's not good if you're trying to ship a lot of stuff.
Yeah, just one insanely dehydrated like guy on a sort of like micro catamaran with one of my Amazon packages.
Exactly.
I'm so tired.
Just a man drinking his own piss in the middle of the Pacific Ocean to try and like bring me a USB cable.
Okay, so World War II ended.
You guys ever seen Castaway? Oh, that's good. How we do
that? That package was like one USB-A to USB-C cable that I immediately like forgot I needed after ordering and like tossed into the corner of the room the second I got it.
Yeah, I've been there.
All right, so World War II ended.
Who won?
That would be us. We.
Who's
America.
us, Ross? Yeah, just us. Please ignore
the only country in the world.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about the Atoms for Peace program to some extent on Project Plowshare episode. if we remember Harry Truman, he dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and he felt good about it afterwards. He was like, "Yeah, that was the right decision, right? Fuck this Oppenheimer bitch."
Yeah, he pooped in Oppenheimer's face. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Dwight Eisenhower thought a little bit differently about it. Owing to the fact that now he's president, there's increasing power of atomic bombs. There's a potential for this new hydrogen bomb that is becoming like increasingly realistic. The genie's out of the bottle with atomic energy. The question became how to control these new unprecedented forces, right? He made a speech to the UN in 1953 called Atoms for Peace. He spoke of the sort of moral imperative.
Not to be confused with the Tom York side project.
Yeah. Spoke of sort of a moral imperative to offset some of the deadly military aspects of atomic energy with peaceful applications, right? For excavating, that didn't go well. That's another episode we've done.
Just obliterated a bunch of land in Alaska, poisoned a bunch of people.
Food or radiation?
No, they didn't. Did they go through with this one? I forget.
Nuclear Tupperware.
Yeah.
Uranium glass.
Yeah.
None of these things are relevant.
Yeah. So, nuclear power plants. Here's the reactor for the shipping port plant, the demonstration plant.
Is this next to a steam locomotive?
Yes.
Two pressure vessels.
That's a Pennsylvania Railroad steam locomotive.
That
right
is
there.
What a cool picture.
Yeah.
It's just two pressure vessels looking at each other.
Mm-hmm. I'm just like you.
We're in love.
You but different. Yeah, this too is Yuri, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Medical uses for radiation.
Wait, hold on. I have a drop for this. Let me scroll all the way back up in my thing to the letter B. Yeah.
A big titty anime girl.
There you go.
Very nice.
It's the only drop of you I have. Devin edited that out from episode and sent it to me, and I'm like, thank you.
God. What is? I don't even know what the context for that is.
I don't know. This was months and months ago, but I have a drop of you saying,
"Big titty anime girl,"
which
It's a little more enthusiastic than I feel comfortable with.
If you want to give me a more dour line read of it, I'm sure we can grab it.
Let me talk about my sexual proclivities for 2.5 hours. Now, if somebody will get the charts, please.
Is that unenthusiastic? A big titty anime girl.
Well, I hope you look forward to hearing that on a subsequent episode.
Anyway, so
jean jackets and glasses, as we've established. Yes, go on.
Food irradiation and preservation, etc. That's why I got my Cobalt 60 source down here. Drop and run.
You're not supposed to eat that?
No, well, no, you don't eat it, but the food goes underneath it, and then it gets disinfected. You ever see those food irradiation setups where it's in order to do maintenance, in order to prevent people from doing things stupid, whenever the source is exposed, it's in order to access the area, you have to go through a Super Mario level to prevent people from doing idiotic things. We'll do an episode on one of those eventually. But also international cooperation to control the distribution of fissile material in order to avoid nuclear proliferation, which is the situation that arises when everyone and their mother has access to the bomb.
Yeah, for more on this, you can see the documentary Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yes.
Great game.
Kind of one of the civilizational success stories. With a few edge cases, by and large, we stopped a lot of bad people from getting the bomb, Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Yeah. One project that Eisenhower suggested was an atomic ship, a peace ship that would travel the globe with exhibits and demonstrations of new atomic technology. And this was the
sick-ass idea. Should have done it. Again, weirdly Hideo Kojima coded, but I also think a lot about the idea of putting the UN headquarters on the extraterritorial island between the US and Canada. And just making it a kind of UN island.
Yeah, or you put it on the nuclear ship.
Yeah.
Put it on Mars. Yeah. Fuck you, Elon.
Yeah.
Should have put the UN on a nuclear ship.
Yeah.
So this was
set about adrift.
This was the seed for the NS Savannah, In fact, it was only the following year that Congress authorized the construction of the ship. All right. Let's go to an old slide I had to pull out of an old episode. Let's review, how do nuclear reactors work?
It's a steam engine again.
Yes.
But it's a steam engine that instead of coal or wood, you put rocks in, but the rocks are a special rock.
You have spicy rocks, and the spicy rocks get hot in a tank of water, and they produce bubbles, and then the bubbles turn a fan, and that produces energy, right? That's the real simple version, at least.
You can go to school for like 6 or 7 years about this if you want.
Or you could just read the slide and do a PhD dissertation on it. It's fine.
It's all about generating heat. Everything ultimately that's generating this sort of power is a steam engine in some form or another. You know, except for like a hydroelectric dam. But I don't think anyone's figured out how to make that power a ship.
Really long wire.
There have been trolley boats on canals, actually.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yes, it was not very
sincerely.
common.
That's very cool.
One of those limiting factors that is like ultimately one of the best ways of generating electricity we've discovered is things spin.
Yeah,
and
everything leaks. Spin. Yes. Now, with that in mind, there were some early successful attempts at nuclear marine propulsion, right? By 1955 or so, nuclear marine propulsion is, if not fully proven, certainly well on its way to be. This is the USS Nautilus. Liam and I have been here.
Yep.
Nice. Shout out to Admiral Hyman Rickover.
Hell of a name.
Yeah, they don't let you be called Hyman anymore because of woke, but
exactly.
The man he was the father of the nuclear navy, and also you have to become an admiral when you're named that, because then people have to stop laughing at you.
This is a good point, yeah.
Or because you could just send a peacekeeper missile through their door.
Yeah, this is the thing. Give you like boy named Sue doctrine. Give your kids embarrassing names. It will make them unspeakably powerful.
It will make them into admirals.
Yeah.
So the USS Nautilus was built by the Electric Boat Company of New London, Connecticut.
Hey, we've been there.
Yes. Electric Boat was, originally they made like small pleasure vessels that were powered by batteries. And then one day they stepped up their game.
So what if one of these was underwater and had a bunch of like missiles on it?
And was powered by a nuclear reactor. So this was the first nuclear-powered submarine and the first nuclear-powered vessel of any kind. You can still go see it in Groton, Connecticut. Nuclear surface vessels soon follow. You've got up here the USS Bainbridge. This is a cruiser, right? The USS Long Beach, which has a big cube on it.
Yeah, incredible cube. I love this cube.
Yeah. I forget. I think the cube was meant for one thing, and then they wound up putting missiles in it instead. I don't know the purpose of the cube, or I don't remember. I read it on the internet, and then I forgot.
Nice.
The cube is not the subject of this episode, so I forgot it. Here we have, of course, the USS Enterprise, big ass aircraft carrier.
Host to at least one race riot, if I'm remembering my carriers correctly. Also, John McCain set it on fire one time. I'm pretty certain.
I believe you're correct.
Wow, it's prank gone wrong.
It might have been the USS Forrestal. I don't remember. I don't remember my carriers. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like you said, it's a proven technology. It's also very helpful that like one of the things that you need for like a nuclear power is like a continued supply of water to cool the thing. Hard to run out of that in a boat.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you can if you lose power and the distillation thing. I forget the naval term for it. Stops working. But the thing about nuclear power is it's very reliable.
Yeah, and
it was Forrestal. I just looked.
And especially with submarines too, you're dealing with like pressure vessels, and if you have a lot of expertise dealing in like the engineering and maintenance of like pressurized vessels, then you can kind of tack on some like nuclear stuff to that pretty easily.
Oh yeah, it's just a heavy duty pressure vessel inside another heavy duty pressure vessel.
Yeah, it's like a bain marie technically.
Yeah,
probably.
So Now, these are the first 3 ships of the nuclear navy. They carry out this demonstration mission in 1964 called Operation Sea Orbit. They circumnavigate the globe with several lengthy detours in 65 days without refueling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this had been done before.
I think
certainly
it could
not
have been done before.
Well, you probably could have done it if you had like an entire like bulker full of coal.
Yeah, the Pacific would have been unforgiving, I would think.
Just start consuming the cargo. But
just single-handedly changing the terrain of like imperialism everywhere because you don't need coaling stations anymore.
Exactly. Naval reactors proved to be practical, reliable, very powerful, and even economical. These ships would almost never require refueling, though those rare refuelings would be a lengthy and complicated process. But those refuelings were years apart, right?
Right. It's every 10 years, right? I could be wrong on that. I believe
something like that. Yeah. I mean, the only issue was that they used this expensive, highly enriched weapons-grade uranium to save space, right?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Even back then, it was known that this stuff really shouldn't be in civilian hands. But, you know, there must be ways around that, right?
Welcome to the General Dynamics Electric Boat DIY nuclear enrichment facility.
This Boy Scout built a carrier air group in a shed. I mean, clearly the only answer to this is to federalize, nationalize, and militarize the entire civilian shipping fleet of the world under American all of
Connecticut,
and
right?
Soviet control.
I mean, the United States Merchant Marine was basically a Navy auxiliary force as a whole at this point in time.
I do think that we should send in the National Guard to Connecticut, if for no other reason than to make New London more exciting.
Just liven things up a bit.
Yeah.
I do like, by the way, on the Nautilus, you see that it has a couple of decorations, like for the ship. It has a couple of efficiency E's, which is a thing that started in, I think, the Second World War, where it's like, the most efficient ship in its like squadron or class or whatever gets to paint a big E for efficiency on the, like, in this case, the sail. And I just think every time that I see it, especially a ship that's got a few of them, I just think,
I knew that drop was coming. I was kind of like, why hasn't she done it yet?
I was scrolling. I had to scroll for these things. I had to scroll away from big titty anime girl for that.
Yeah, you gotta kill some time while you find the drop.
Yeah, that's right.
So this looks like a vessel ripe for a gigantic nuclear reactor. Right, take out the smokestacks.
Yeah,
2 beautiful nuclear reactors. Make this thing basically a giant speedboat.
Probably still need at least 1 smokestack, right? That's a cooling tower.
This is the SS United States, of course.
Currently rotting in South Philly.
Yeah, currently rotting in South Philly, involved in a major lawsuit because the whoever stevedore and company wants to kick it out. In which case it would probably be scrapped. But anyway, so this still holds the blue ribbon for One Direction fastest Atlantic crossing.
The, BTS fastest Atlantic crossing.
Yeah.
I should be killed probably.
So in the early 50s, ocean liners like this, they're still competitive for transoceanic travel, but need more power to go more faster, right? They also have the problem of lengthy refueling times, which means they can't sail nearly as often as owners might like them to.
Meanwhile, all of these guys are getting their lunches eaten by airlines.
Not quite yet, but they will soon. Cargo ships are less affected by refueling times because loading and unloading was so labor intensive, but they could be more efficient and spend less time refueling if, let's say, they were nuclear, right? They could also be bigger, though the economics of very large ships didn't make much sense in 1955. Because again, loading and unloading is so slow and labor intensive. The first modern container ship, the SS Ideal X, only launched that year, 1955, and the truly modern global standardized shipping container was still decades away. More on that later. Yeah.
But otherwise, everything has to be like break bulk, and it has to be handled through whatever your country's kind of organized, crime-controlled longshoremen's union is.
Yes.
not guys you want getting their hands on the like uranium. Also,
the super weapons grade. Yeah. Suitcase nukes coming to a business disagreement near you.
Nice neighborhood you got here. Be a shame if someone irradiated it.
Nuked it.
Yes.
The nuclear mob. That's a.
Yeah. Nevertheless, the Department of Energy, the Department of Commerce, and the Maritime Administration were going to have a go at it. Excuse me, not Department of Energy, the Atomic Energy Commission.
Sure.
So they start designing this first nuclear ship, the NS Savannah, right? So Savannah is the demonstrator, right? It's the peace ship, and as such was not built for economy. It was built to show the world the practicalities of naval nuclear power. So it was built to these sort of strange, almost obsolete specifications, right? Savannah was half a passenger ship, half a cargo ship, right?
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah. So you have, in the fore, you have these 4 big holds, right? In the aft, you have 2, right? And then the reactor, which we'll get to in a moment, goes here, right? And then the main superstructure with the amenities and the passenger accommodations is here, right? Other than the reactor and associated propulsion system, the ship was actually built with some surprisingly old-fashioned equipment for the day. The idea being that as a demonstrator, only the most tried and true equipment should be used, since they didn't want any newfangled problems with newfangled equipment like on top of whatever problems the reactor was going to have.
It's bad news if the president's like peaceful atom ship just like,
breaks into like the Titanic.
Yeah,
for sure.
Now this proved to be a bad idea, as we'll get to later.
Oh boy.
The one very modern thing it did have, other than the reactor, was somewhere up here. It had big new fancy fin stabilizers.
I'm sorry. Did you say big titty anime girl?
No.
Oh, I thought you said big titty anime girl.
Hold on.
These did in fact break on the first voyage.
A big titty anime girl.
It's a maiden voyage, you dweeb.
This ship was designed by George G. Sharp Incorporated, a firm which actually only went under just recently, having completed some of the newer Staten Island ferries. And this ship was going to be built at New York Shipbuilding in Camden, New Jersey.
Oh, of course.
Which is maybe the source of Governor Hochul's confusion about where her constituency is. New York Shipbuilding is not in New York. It's in New Jersey, in Camden, which is not even near New York.
It's aspirational,
Yes.
For people who want to live in New York, or ships, I guess.
So if we look
here, there's a veranda, which is cool.
We'll get some pictures of that in a bit.
Oh, hell yeah.
One thing to note here with the plan, you can see here's the reactor, and then just across the hallway, hey, staterooms.
I mean,
why not?
Listen, depends on how thick and lead-based that wall is, but
very.
That's.
I hope.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, let's talk about the power plant here. This reactor was built by Babcock and Wilcox. They're Boilermakers. I thought they were based in the UK. They're not. They're actually they had a UK division, but they were based in Providence, Rhode Island.
Really? I always thought they were British. I was a little proud
I always
of
thought
that.
So too. Yeah.
It sounds like such a British thing, like Babcock
and Wilcox. It does sound very, very.
Its headquarters is
it sounds like that's 2 men in a shed in West Yorkshire. And being kind of like Boilermakers to the Queen. and you're telling me this whole time they're just like Italians or whatever from Rhode Island.
Oh God!
Because they did the TMI reactor too.
They did 3 Mile Island as well. Yeah.
Babcock and Wilcox are both like anglicized Italian names. I don't care to speculate on the originals.
Babcocki and Wilcoxo.
Wilcoxo, of course.
I think those guys were wrongly executed for anarchist terrorism.
Yeah,
Here's to you, Nicola and Bart.
Originally, the plan had been to use a nearly identical reactor to that of the USS Nautilus, but aspects of that design were still classified, so a whole new commercial marine nuclear reactor was designed. Now, NS Savannah's nuclear reactor managed to make use of 4.5% U-235 enriched uranium, which also meant it had to be relatively large compared to the military nuclear reactors, because those ran on weapons-grade uranium, which was 50% U-235.
Yeah, but fucking Eisenhower is like, we cannot have the 5 families get access to weapons-grade uranium.
Yeah, no, we can't do that. We're only going to lend nuclear technology to our trusted allies like Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, they won't figure out how to make a bomb with this. Who else did we give? We gave it to the Israelis at the same time, I believe.
Don't worry about that.
It was the French who gave it to the Israelis.
I thought it was the French too.
Maybe it was both.
The Israelis gave it to South Africa, right?
That would make sense.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly.
It's like a venereal disease.
I got it from Agnes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's this is a pressurized water reactor, right? So there's coolant water in a continuous cycle. It's kept under very high pressure at all times. It flows through the reactor to where it's heated to many times its boiling point. But because it's under such high pressure, it doesn't boil, right? Within the containment vessel, this superheated pressurized water then flows into a heat exchanger where it heats water for the main steam loop, right? And that now cool pressurized water is cycled back into the reactor, and that goes all the way around. The steam flows out of the heat exchanger, out of the pressure vessel, into the turbines, right? Thus, all the nasty radioactive stuff stays in the containment vessel, and the steam loop stays uncontaminated.
Really putting that water in a situation.
Yeah, the water is the water is very angry. The water in a pressurized water reactor is not happy. It does not enjoy this. So a big issue with nuclear reactors, which is that they're radioactive, and we haven't developed any kind of lightweight radiation shielding. And if they get banged up, if they get banged up, bad things happen, which is a big concern on a moving vessel.
Yeah, don't hit an iceberg in this.
Yeah. Superheated pressurized water is very angry, so a pipeline rupture or anything like that would be very bad. So NS Savannah needed a pretty hefty containment vessel. I just pulled this straight out of the National Register listing here. The vessel is made up of a 35-foot diameter cylindrical section with hemispherical ends. It has an overall length of 50 feet. The wall thickness, varying from about 2.5 inches to almost 4 inches of carbon steel, was designed to withstand a pressure of 186 psig. Psig is gauge pressure. That means you're measuring it from 1 atmosphere as opposed to psia, which is measured from vacuum. So this psig is the pressure that would result from the rupture of a primary coolant pipe and the instantaneous release and expansion of the contents of the primary coolant system.
It does take out all of those staterooms with it, though.
Yeah.
No, that stays entirely in the containment vessel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It would just now be a horrible 100 and something psi. If something was in there, it would be vaporized, but probably no one would be in there when it's running.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah. Well, they would be dead from radiation already if they were in there. So 2 24-inch by 18-inch manholes in the lower portion of the vessel and 2 42-inch diameter manholes in the upper portion of the vessel provide access to the containment vessel. If the ship sank, the 2 lower manholes were designed to open inwardly under an external head pressure of 100 foot of water. This allowed flooding and prevented the collapse of the containment vessel in the event that the ship sunk. So it was designed to remain safe even if the thing sank. Now, except when entry was necessary, the containment vessel remained sealed. If entry was required, it could be done 30 minutes after the reactor was shut down, once the radiation level within the vessel was below 200 millirem per hour.
I gotta be honest with you, I don't want to get in the containment vessel.
No, please no. I don't like that.
People tended to avoid it.
Yeah. That tracks.
All right, I got some stuff about it that's actually stupider later in the presentation.
Oh boy.
Oh Jesus.
The bottom half of the containment vessel rests in a cradle of steel surrounded by a wall of reinforced concrete 4 feet thick. The top half of the containment vessel is encased in a 6-inch layer of lead plus a 6-inch layer of polyethylene. In addition, both sides of the containment vessel are protected by a 24-inch thick collision mat constructed of alternate layers of 1-inch steel and 3-inch redwood lumber.
Oh, unsustainable.
According to design,
they killed like 1,000-year-old tree for this.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not building too many reactors, though.
Go in the boat.
Yeah. We'd plant another one. According to design estimates, in the event of a broadside collision opposite the reactor space, the ramming ship would have to penetrate 17 feet of stiffened ship structure. That's your stateroom.
Okay.
The heavy collision bulkhead.
What if everyone were a Ford Expedition?
Yeah. The heavy collision bulkhead, 2 feet of collision mat, 1.5 feet of reinforced concrete shielding, and the reactor containment vessel before the reactor plant could be damaged.
So, God willing, you have to take like a direct missile strike as opposed to just some asshole in a boat.
This was designed to get Andrea Doriad and win.
It's a beautiful hubristic moment of this thing being designed to fight the sea.
It was designed to fight the Stockholm, because that had happened like just before they started designing this.
Okay. I don't like that I'll tell you what, I don't like that my stateroom is the first line of defense.
You don't like it? Get another boat.
No, you're in the strengthened staterooms. That's the thing. Yeah.
All right, I feel very safe now. Let's do this.
Like ramming attack perfectly donks off my window.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys.
Now, the actual steam turbines had these sort of weird features to accommodate the wetter steam that you got from this sort of reactor than a land-based power plant.
I don't like the phrase wetter steam.
Yeah, you have it's so when you have a land-based reactor, it heats things to a much higher temperature than this does. You get what's called dry steam. This is producing saturated steam because it's not getting to the same temperatures.
Okay. So it's less efficient. It
is less efficient, but it doesn't need to be that efficient.
Okay, because we're powering a boat, not like a town.
Not like a town. Yeah, I don't need a gigawatt of power. I think this is rated for 74 megawatts of heat. So power was sent to the propellers by means of a big ass shaft. Just a big rotating shaft. Yeah. They had 2 big Fairbanks Morse diesel generators on standby in case of a loss of nuclear power. This thing was designed for 20,000 horsepower, but actually put out 22,000 horsepower in testing for a maximum speed of 24 knots.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it went fast. Here's some pictures of the thing under construction in the fucking massive New York shipbuilding really dry dock. Yeah. Here's it being launched. It was christened by Mamie Eisenhower on July 21st, 1959, but it took another 2 years to finish the ship and fire up the reactor. They finally delivered it to the operator, States Marine Lines, on May 1st, 1962, for sea trials, which I said it goes extremely well in the notes, but there were some problems. But, we'll get to those in a bit. But the ship was very fast. It was very powerful. It was actually very reliable. Other than, again, some issues we'll get to in a bit. So anyway, let's look at the brochure.
I do love this kind of like futurist like design, color scheme, lettering even.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big fan. Like very Thunderbirds, actually.
From gracefully flared bow to modified cruiser stern, the streamlined NS Savannah measures 595.5 feet overall. Her beam is 78 feet. Her draft, 29.5 feet. Capable of cruising at 21 knots, the 22,000-ton ship carries 60 passengers and 9,400 tons of cargo.
Should we address why it's called the NS Savannah? That NS stands for nuclear
ship. Yes.
All of the stuff that like prefixes civilian ships is like mostly these days like propulsive methods. Like SS was like steamship, and then it was MV for motor vessel, and so this needed a new one. So nuclear ship, NS.
Nuclear ship, yes. So it carries 60 passengers. It has a crew of 124.
I mean, that's luxury. That's real, like, personalized service, you know?
It's a demonstrator.
Me in my extremely luxury bulletproof cabin with 2 dudes just looking after me all the
time. Look at some of the interiors. Onboard amenities here.
I take back everything I said about liking the way it looked.
Oh, I love this. Oh, feed me the orange weird whatever the hell this is. This just a couch?
The 1960s. Yeah. I enjoy the like sort of tracking world map on the back behind the ship model podium.
Ship model. This is a ship model of the SS Savannah, which was the first steamship to cross the Atlantic. Although it did it mostly under sail.
Everything else I despise.
Oh, I love this.
A lot of this. I have some nicer pictures later. These were just what I found early on, and I found some better pictures.
This is terrific. What are you talking about?
The middle one is the stateroom that you're in. You're watching the like ramming attack get effortlessly deflected. There's 2 crew members there with you.
With MP5s ready to return fire on some civilian coal vessel. Yes.
This is a pretty good sized stateroom, to be honest.
Yeah, we've been in much worse staterooms. Not staterooms. We've just been in much worse rooms.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is the amenities section. Equipped with 30 air-conditioned staterooms, each with an individual bathroom, a dining facility for 100 passengers, a lounge that could double as a movie theater, a veranda, a swimming pool, and a library. They also had a shuffleboard court.
Ultimate boomer luxury.
Yeah. Here's the promenade deck. See the main lounge back here. The veranda here, that's where the bar was. Swimming pool back here, so you can look out from the bar.
I'm trying to think, this shit
see
must
all
have been
the girls.
Weird how quiet it must have been.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like no engine noise, no sail noise either.
Yeah. No engine noise, no sail noise. Just the knowledge that you are safe in your stateroom and there's a nuclear reactor 10 feet away. Is it Coleridge, the quote that the sailor lives like a plank away from eternity? Well, you live like a plank away from radioactivity, I guess. Yes.
Maybe it'll kill you fast. Maybe it'll kill you slow. Who knows?
Here are the nicer pictures from the brochure.
The fucking carpet.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Oh yes.
Yeah. They got the the luxurious lounge, can double as a movie theater. You see the main lobby with the weird couch next to the purser's desk.
I do like the couch actually.
Yeah, the couch is cool.
Bar stools.
The bar stools are cool.
Bottom
we'll
left.
Talk about the sculpture here in a second. You have this big curved relief back here is called Fission. It's by Pierre Bourdelle, who's son of French sculptor Antoine Bourdelle. And the guy also did a bunch of art in Cincinnati Union Terminal.
Huh.
But yeah, this is the veranda. It's got the dance floor. You can look over at the pool. You can see the sexy 1960s women. And then over
getting
here,
1960s women dysphoria and radiation sickness at the same time.
You never want both.
this sculpture back here is actually a wine rack. And it's based on a trilinear chart of the nuclides.
Oh, fucking dweebs.
Yeah.
I love to go to nerd prom.
I love I love the whatever what I can only assume are the boost gauges over here on the right.
Oh, I'm sure that, I think this one's a clock. This one's a clock. Who knows what this one is?
They have.
I think that's local time.
Those are 2 of those are 24-hour clocks.
Ooh. Because of the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, I guess so.
These tables here, note ashtray in the middle.
Of course.
But also these were electroluminescent. You know, they light up green like it's radioactive.
To remind you of the cancer that you're getting.
Yes. the Rubbermaid trash can is not original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You have this, I believe, brass sculpture of the original NS Savannah, right there in the lounge. Or excuse me, this is the main dining room. Here's what it would have looked like in a contemporary time.
The thing that's like overwhelming me about this is how like blocky all the rooms are by necessity. So you get a bunch of like interesting 60s design with like curves and shapes and stuff, and then it's so obviously the most like overbuilt, like riveted, like concrete looking like room situation. Like you are in a room. I know this is a strange thing to say, but like
you gotta compromise because, you know, it's a half cargo, half passenger ship. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm on the kind of like, you know, 19th century like Great Kavanaugh for like a warship or anything, but like it's interesting where the kind of compromise seeps in, you know?
Hi, it's Justin. So this is a commercial for the podcast that you're already listening to. People are annoyed by these, so let me get to the point. We have this thing called Patreon, right? The deal is you give us $2 a month, and we give you an extra episode once a month. Sometimes it's a little inconsistent, but, you know, it's $2. You get what you pay for. It also gets you our full back catalog of bonus episodes, so you can learn about exciting topics like guns, pickup trucks, or pickup trucks with guns on them. The money we raise through Patreon goes to making sure that the only ad you hear on this podcast is this one. Anyway, that's something to consider if you have $2 to spare each month. Join at patreon.com/WTYP pod. Do it if you want. Or don't. It's your decision, and we respect that. Back to the show.
All these plants,
fake plastic.
Oh yeah, it's brand new. It's brand new. You got fake plants. It's the future.
Magnificent.
You know what else was the future? Let's go to the galley.
Just no natural fibers. No real plants.
I like that the notes say horse divorce.
Yeah. This is the first commercial microwave oven.
Oh my god. Jesus, this really is the future.
Yeah, exactly. So this was mainly used for heating hors d'oeuvres for the passengers since it's the future, right?
Just coming out to you and being like, it's microwaved. And because it's like 1960, you're like, what the fuck? Holy shit.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
As opposed to now where
is this space?
Yeah, like I watch Technology Connections. I'm a patron of Technology Connections. I understand the kind of like scientific miracles at work here, but unfortunately microwave cooking has become the official cooking method of depression. That's a fight that it's not winning again. But it hadn't lost it yet. And so all of these people were just like, fucking
holy shit, it's the future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. These things cost like $3,000 new, which is like $34,000 today.
And that's the whole. It's like the whole sort of like fridge size unit as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is definitely for commercial kitchens. It had a whole conventional galley too. Not everything was being heated here, but you know, but they could say, "Whoa, your food was cooked by radiation."
Ooh.
Yeah, in a way that's safer than just like, you know, frying the eggs on like the sort of secondary water system pipes.
Yeah. I mean, now that I have cooked on a train, I feel sympathy for these people.
Extending a really long spatula with a fried egg on it into the fucking pressure vessel.
Yeah. You want to see the reactor
kind of like
control
glove
room
box thing?
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah,
that's
hell
beautiful.
yeah.
The floor tile.
Yeah,
the
big
fucking floor tile here with the electrons orbiting a propeller That's fucking great.
That's great. Oh,
that's
look at
probably
all,
made
look
of
at all
asbestos.
this. Oh yeah. Oh, look how many bits and boots there are to play with.
You could push all those buttons and something cool would happen.
Yeah. Maybe all of those gauges would move at once over on the left.
Yeah.
The warning lights across the top. Even there's like ceiling lights. Everything about this is like.
Remember the future?
No, but like how I wish I had.
I like how it's, you know, a nuclear reactor controller, but it also has here a ship's telegram.
Just really welding these two technologies together, huh?
Yeah, it did have a traditional ship's telegram.
Of course, yeah.
I believe there's also somewhere on here is a button to scram the reactor, and then there's a light that shows up if the bridge orders you to scram the reactor. Because they can't do anything directly, because that's how ships work.
Yeah, it's mostly it's delegation, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who aren't familiar with nuclear reactors, scramming the reactors when you dump the control rods in as fast as possible to stop the reaction. That's like an emergency shutdown. If you only watch Chernobyl, that's AZ5.
Yeah, I was gonna say it makes things a lot safer, except when it doesn't.
Except when it doesn't. Well,
except when your reactor is designed in a way that like a situation can happen that makes it much worse. Yeah.
We're actually going to briefly mention the RBMK later in the episode.
Oh, lovely.
So, you know, yeah, I don't know what any of this does, but it looks cool. The bridge is kind of normal.
Yeah, normal style bridge.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just like I'm just running a steamship. You know,
where's the steam coming from? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's something else, right?
You got your classic stuff here. You got like your telephones. You got your microscope laundry machine combinations. You got your champagne bucket. Everything you need. You
have the big helm is back there. I don't know where the ship's telegram is. I saw some pictures on Flickr, but they had all rights reserved, so I didn't put them in. You know. Anyway. Then we get to the cargo holds.
So these are scary. Yeah, this is a fucking like unreleased Steam like first person shooter.
Yeah,
that, like
exactly.
One guy was developing before he got hired at like a kind of big studio. You know,
this looks like the fucking back rooms in like the Portal games. You know, when you escape the containment chamber.
The Stanley Parables let itself go.
Yeah, exactly. Because the ship was so heavily streamlined, these cargo holds had a lot of problems. They were small. They were difficult to access. The cranes had limited range since they were designed to look cool instead of to function.
Same.
Since this is the demonstrator ship, right? One of the cargo holds was exceptionally hard to use because the swimming pool was on top of it.
Oh, you really need to decide if you're passenger or cargo. Like, not to be sort of like essentialist about this, you know, but like.
But yeah, so they built this thing and they ran it. We'll talk about its early career here. So Savannah goes to Georgia, directly to the city of Savannah.
I was going to say likely place for it.
Yeah. And on underway, the reactor scrams due to a faulty pressure indicator, and the media reports that it almost melted down, even though that didn't happen.
I love journalism. I love the press. Yeah, I love panic.
I believe for a while, one of the stabilizers, which is underwater here, got jammed. The only piece of new technology on the ship, other than the reactor, it jammed, and it was like listing for a good amount of time.
Yeah, I actually don't love panic.
Yeah, so they go to Savannah, Georgia. Everyone's greeted like heroes. They spend some time there. Then they go to New York City for something called Nuclear Week. The Johnny Carson show takes a tour of the ship. They do a big trip out to the Seattle World's Fair. They stay there for a while. Lots of people are touring the ship at all of these locations, right? They go as far out as Hawaii. And they go to Los Angeles. They come back from Hawaii, right? And a bad thing happens.
Oh.
Did we lose Liam?
Liam.
I was eating dinner because I didn't get a chance to.
Oh, I see. Okay. Anyway, so a bad thing happens. Savannah causes a labor dispute.
Cancelled. Scab ship.
So the engineering crew had some frustrations with the ship over its first journeys. There were teething problems with the reactor. The big one being the control rod mechanism leaked hydraulic fluid into the hot reactor. This is a very stupid problem that was solved in a very stupid way.
They sent a guy in a radiation suit with a caulking gun.
What they did...
Big Daddy suit from Bioshock.
They did not fix the leak.
Oh, okay.
Instead, when the reactor was under power, the atmosphere in the containment vessel was replaced by 100% nitrogen, so the hot hydraulic fluid could not catch fire.
That's an SR-71S solution.
Yeah.
That's magnificent, actually.
That's one of the reasons why it took a long time to get in the reactor after it had been shut down, because then you had to replace the nitrogen with normal air.
So incidentally, you've also made it fireproof.
Yes.
And it's great fun to laugh with your friends.
Yeah.
It's helium.
It's nitrous oxide.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of
notably
helium.
Very flammable.
No, nitrogen. Just ignore me. I'm sorry.
The air conditioning system was pretty unreliable. There were a lot of issues. Like, they had installed all this very nice, expensive carpet in the staterooms, and then it just, filled up with leaked out air conditioning condensation.
Getting Legionnaire's disease on the fucking nuclear ship.
Hey, we did a bonus about that.
Yeah.
Steam generator feed pumps kept breaking down. There was insufficient space to store radioactive waste. Radioactive waste in this point being mostly water from leaky valves.
Putting a fucking bucket under the radioactive water pipe.
Well, it's funny because different sources based on when they were written say different times about this. The earlier one, I read an article in Life magazine, was like, well, they built this expensive tender barge to contain the radioactive waste that would be discharged from the ship. And then they found out they didn't need it because they could just discharge it at sea.
Hell yeah.
And
it's
then,
a
of
safe
course,
and legal thrill.
It's the whale's
a
problem
more modern source is going to say, well, rather than use the barge that was for the purpose, they just discharged at sea, and that was the problem. And, to make matters worse, if you were on the engineering department and you were going to fix something, because, again, this ship had largely been equipped with more old-fashioned, tried-and-true equipment, the ship's machine shop had been equipped with belt-driven machinery.
Nice.
Oh, the real, orphan mangling special.
Yes. In the year of our Lord, 1959, someone installed a belt-driven machine shop in the first atomic merchant ship. You would think electricity wouldn't be too hard to come by on a nuclear ship, but some shipwrights thought otherwise. I like to think it must have been driven directly by a takeoff shaft from the main shaft driving the propellers.
Extremely reliable belt drive. The ship does not shut down.
So this resulted in engineers getting a lot of overtime pay in addition to their already very high pay due to operating a brand new nuclear
reactor.
Yeah, exactly. These are not just
dickheads,
licensed mariners. They're nuclear engineers.
You are the astronauts of sort of merchant marine engineers, right?
Yeah, they should get a lot of money because they're doing a lot of overtime. They're crewing the first nuclear ship. They went through a lot of extra training, so on and so forth, right? On a merchant ship, there's the deck department, which has the deck officers, like the captain, the first mate, the one or more second mates, one or more third mates, so on and so forth, right? And you have the engineering department, which has the engineering officers, right? the first through fourth engineers, the chief engineer, various other people all share responsibility for different aspects of the ship's engines. Traditionally, the deck officers are paid more than engineering. But on the Savannah, this situation was reversed.
Merely for operating a nuclear reactor.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Create a kind of nuclear aristocracy.
Yes.
Sure.
On the Savannah, as well as with other States Marine Line ships, the deck officers are represented by the International Organization of Masters, Mates, and Pilots. And the engineers were represented by the Marine Engineers Beneficial Association. And the Masters, Mates, and Pilots were pissed off. Why should these engineers make more money just because they're running a nuclear reactor? I mean, this is going to be trivial technology by 1975. People have one in every car.
Sure.
Should also be noted that there were 3 other craft unions on board as well, but they don't come into
beautiful.
this.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's like one for the kind of like deck ratings.
The stewards.
One for the stewards, one for the pastry chefs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's one guy who's in like I don't know. There's a Teamster on board for some reason. he just has to be there. So in November 1962, the Masters, Mates, and Pilots managed to bitch and moan enough that the Department of Labor appointed an arbitrator who ruled in favor of the deck officers, who got a raise and a guarantee that their pay would always be higher than that of the engineers.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Craft unions are so fucking good.
God damn it.
And this creates an issue for the engineers who feel very put upon. These guys mostly had been taken up from like the highest ranks of the Merchant Marine. A lot of them had taken demotions to work on this ship, which turned out to be, at least in its first 2 voyages, a hell of a time to work on. There were a lot of problems that they were sort of, working through, like, as they were doing it. There's a lot of dangerous unknown stuff. There's, it was that these people put in a lot of work, right?
Mm.
They can no longer negotiate for higher wages without implicitly negotiating for the deck officers too, without any help from the deck officers union. So in protest, once the ship made port in Galveston, Texas, where they were going to do some mechanical upgrades to fix some of the problems, they shut down the reactor and walked off the ship.
Hell yeah.
Pretty effective action if you're the nuclear engineers. Yeah. Since you don't tend to have a lot of scab nuclear engineers sitting around.
I was about to say, I take one look at that control room, like, I don't know what's going on.
Fuck it, break it with a hammer.
Yeah. In the 4 years, she had made exactly 1 trip to the West Coast and then to Hawaii and then back to Galveston. Now, without half her crew, she was trapped, well, due in for a European tour in only a month. And the Maritime Administration, rather than solve this dispute, which would surely be mirrored on any future nuclear-powered U.S. flagship, they simply decided to kick the can down the road. They terminated the contract with States Marine Lines and handed the ship over to American Export is Branson Lines, which was non-union.
I was joking about the scab nuclear engineers.
They spent a year training a brand new crew.
They have the plant, but we have the power, ass.
Yeah. Anyway, back underway. Look, Ma, no smokestack.
It's still a really good looking ship.
To the tune of No Hands by Walk a Flock of Flame, of course.
Yeah, of course.
After system upgrades that really helped the ship a lot, and servicing in Galveston, the new non-union crew sails for New York, then Bremerhaven, Hamburg, Dublin, Southampton. They subsequently made several transatlantic journeys in 1964 as a passenger carrying ship. They reached as far as Athens. There was a Pacific trip planned but canceled when the Japanese, the Australians, and the New Zealanders wouldn't let them dock at their ports.
Nuclear-free zones.
Yeah, well, I believe we eventually fixed that, and they now let our aircraft carriers go there.
American Hedge Road, it never fails.
Yeah, exactly. By 1965, after 90,000 miles and 848 passenger trips, or 848 passengers carried total, NS Savannah's staterooms and passenger areas were closed. It was the crew was reduced to 65 compared to 45 for a comparable oil-fired steamship. And American Export is Branson Lines decided to operate the thing solely as a cargo vessel. Since, by this time, the airlines really were going to eat the passenger line's lunch. Pan Am had 747s on order. This was over, right?
And nobody's like expressing any interest in building any other nuclear ships, right?
Oh, we'll get to the reasons for that in the next slide, but yes.
Okay.
Now, this is the sort of phase of the career of the vessel where there's a lot of criticism of it, which I think is not very well founded. The economics of operating Savannah as a cargo vessel were not good because that's not what she was designed for. Even despite the Atomic Energy Commission providing free fuel, the ship only grossed $2.6 million in revenue in 1967. She was awkward to load and unload and did not carry very much cargo for her size. In 1968, after 6 years at sea, she was refueled for the first time. A new bundle of 32 fuel rods was ready and waiting to go in Galveston, but when the ship made port and the reactor was cracked open, they found they only really needed to replace 4 rods and rearrange the rest of them. Once the bugs had been worked out, this ship was a stellar performer, extremely reliable, and only expensive in so much as the reactor was an unrefined design and the ship was just not built for the purpose it was now being used for.
Sure.
Future reactors could be made to be less labor intensive. They could be smaller. They could be lighter. They could be more efficient. This
perfect.
was not to be.
Oh,
yeah.
Not perfect. I was
it's not perfect.
As soon as you get containerization in, you iterate on the reactor design a few times. Pretty soon you have a whole fleet of very safe, very efficient, very, very powerful, fast, nuclear cargo ships.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't accidentally geoengineer our way out of and then into some severe climate change.
Yes.
Yeah. Fucking 60 years of the internal combustion engine at sea that we could have just been doing this instead. I mean, granted, it could have led to turbo 911, but I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this is Malcolm McLean. He didn't come up with the container, but he perfected it. His company Sealand operated, they introduced this 35-foot standard container that could fit on trucks, it could fit on trains, and it could fit on specially made ships. Here is the SS Ideal X down here, which was a former World War II tanker. Yeah, it was built to carry Malcolm McLean's containers, right?
Of course.
Or is rebuilt to carry those containers. It could also carry oil at the same time it was carrying containers. He was also instrumental in the International Standards Organization adopting international container standards, though to his chagrin, they approved only 20 and 40-foot containers, leaving his huge fleet of 35-foot containers useless except in domestic American service.
Really, when somebody lays up.
Yeah, exactly. When Freddie Fields, who was a top official of the International Longshoremen's Association, was asked what he thought of the newly fitted container ship, the SS Ideal X, Field replied, "I'd like to sink that son of a bitch."
Good thing we didn't give the guy access to uranium, maybe.
Yeah. So these containers seriously reduce the greatest expenses in shipping, namely stevedoring, right?
Yeah, we turn a sort of highly employed industry into a one with way fewer
three
people.
Guys,
yeah. 3 guys, yeah. 1 guy in a crane. It takes a long time to load and unload ships. It was cumbersome, frequently resulted in damage to cargo. A lot of high-value cargo tended to walk away, right?
Oh, we solved that problem. Port theft never happens now. I'm reliably informed.
Oh, yeah. This made shipping expensive in general and was one of the motivations for new propulsion systems to reduce costs where it was thought possible. Sealand turns this on its head, as evidenced by, up here, this is the SL7, a very fast container carrier. This was built in 1972. with loading so fast and economical, suddenly it was also economical to just jam the biggest power plant possible into the thing and haul ass at 33 knots all the damn way across the ocean, rolling coal the entire time.
This will not cause us any problems. This thing kills like 50 whales a second and also dumps like a sort of rock full of sulfur worth into the atmosphere every time.
These ships are actually still around. They operate for the Navy as the Algol class fast sea lift ships.
It's sometimes you're just condemned to still be useful, you know?
Yes. Wow, they go really, 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 really fast.
Please let me die.
Too useful to die.
And speaking of the Navy, the other downfall of the Savannah was, of course, the Navy. We didn't have the globalized economy that we have today in the 1960s. The largest customer by far for the U.S. merchant marine fleet was the U.S. Navy and the Department of Defense. They had a lot of say into what kind of ships were needed. And internal Department of Defense studies conducted in the mid-1960s said that barring any future fluctuations in the price of oil, conventional oil-fired ships would be more economical than nuclear power indefinitely.
Okay, I sense the presence of Robert McNamara.
And with this, the Atomic Energy Commission and Maritime Administration began to cut back funding for civilian nuclear maritime propulsion, halting efforts to build these more efficient reactors that would be needed for a nuclear civilian fleet.
You stupid assholes.
Yeah. One source I read said that during the oil crisis, even with the larger crew, Savannah would have been more economical to operate than a comparable steamship.
That would make sense.
So what happens to the ship, right? Despite a pretty stellar service record where even American Export and Branson Lines said it was the most reliable ship in their fleet, the numbers just didn't add up for Savannah, and she was retired and defueled in 1971.
Cowards.
She had traveled 450,000 miles, visited 32 domestic ports.
There are vans driving around with more miles on the clock than that.
Yeah, I can sell you one, actually.
45 foreign ports in 26 countries, consuming a grand total of 163 pounds of uranium fuel.
Oh, gee, that's wow.
Yeah.
That's far less than I would have thought.
Yes. Very, very efficient. I would say that would, if it were oil fueled, it'd be 29 million gallons.
Jesus.
Yeah. This left a problem. Just because she was defueled didn't mean that the ship wasn't radioactive as all hell in that containment structure, right? So they can't scrap it.
You can't have guys like climbing over it with like cutting torches.
Yeah. You can't just, well, you probably could ditch it in a Lang. They do, that just a bunch of people would get cancer. One plan was to send her to Savannah, Georgia, as part of an Eisenhower Peace Memorial. And NS Savannah was, in fact, sent to Savannah. The memorial never materialized. Congress never released funding for it.
Just like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah. She floated around several ports over the next few decades as either a museum ship or, for some period of time, just sitting in the James River Merchant Marine Reserve Fleet.
What?
Yeah. And despite requiring periodic and extremely expensive maintenance to keep the containment vessel safe, the Maritime Administration never seemed too interested in actually decommissioning the reactor properly.
Too much work. Too expensive. Easiest to let it sit there harvesting like very skilled laborers like overtime.
Yeah. Eventually, it wound up at Pier 13 in the Canton Marine Terminal in Baltimore, Maryland, opposite one of the very few remaining Liberty ships, the John W. Brown. That's a different John Brown.
Yeah.
And you can now go visit on certain days, which are announced well in advance on the NS Savannah Association website. There's one this Saturday, which will have been last Saturday when this episode comes out.
Not if we can help it. Damn it, let's go.
Yeah. I would recommend going sooner rather than later, though, since the Maritime Administration finally got off its ass and started properly decommissioning the reactor in 2019. As of 2023, has started showing the ship to interested parties, hopefully for permanent preservation, but the fate of the ship is not certain at this point. One of the things about museum ships is they're very, very expensive to maintain. Even if a ship is currently a museum ship, that does not guarantee its future preservation, as anyone who's familiar with the USS Barry in Washington, D.C. would know.
I mean, if anyone is like a supervillain out there looking for a lair, this would be a great, great option. You have to supply your own reactor, but,
Well, you can do that. Roz has one in his basement.
No, that's not mine.
I like the big isotope on the outside.
Yeah, the big. I should have featured this more prominently in earlier slides, but yeah, it's so cool to look at. I haven't been. I gotta go at some point.
It also bugs me that like fewer than 1,000 people got to like be on it while it was like underway as well. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, several 100,000 people visited it, though. I believe it is the most visited nuclear facility ever.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still there. You can go see it. At least for the moment.
Say hi from me if you do.
Yeah.
Tell it it's a good ship.
Yes.
We'll pat it for you.
Yeah, do exactly that, like a horse,
Yeah.
Would be remiss, though, if we didn't finish this by mentioning the other nuclear merchant ships.
Yeah, why aren't like all of these, like why aren't there hundreds of or thousands of these kicking around?
Yeah, so the Germans built one. This is the Otto Hahn.
Don't let them do that.
But it is the Otto Hahn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Less impressive, more practical, more Prussian.
Yes.
This was ore carrier, right?
Uh-huh.
Far more of the ship was devoted to cargo. It did have some passenger accommodation for like the research teams, but that was about it. It's much less well appointed. They're not like commissioning art for this thing. The captain was from a Nazi U-boat.
Of course.
Yeah, naturally. Despite being more practical for its primary purpose of carrying stuff, it kept being denied access to ports.
In fairness, the guy, fucking also fought into war crimen, showing up outside your port, being like, let us in, we are normal and can be trusted around your port facilities with our uranium ship. You would perhaps be like, no, I don't want, no.
I don't trust this guy. He's got an eye patch and not in a cool way. That is kind of a cool way, but it's evil cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure why his arm keeps doing that either. It's really like something like a Twitch or something.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm just being called a Judenschwein and led into a basement.
God.
I hate Nazis.
This guy, unfortunately, I couldn't find too much information in English.
We should have sang it. Oh, yeah, I bet it was all from, I don't know, Der Stormer or whoever the fuck.
Launched in 1960.
I want to get my shots where I can get them,
Launched 1964, refueled once in 1972. Reactor was decommissioned in 1979, converted to a diesel container ship in 1982.
Oh, cowards, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Scrapped at a Lang in 2009.
We actually realized we could do more evil this way. It's actually, we ran the numbers and it does more damage to the environment.
Yes. This is a Japanese ship, the Matsu, right? This was nominally a cargo ship, but it was really used for research. Not the usual kind of research the Japanese research ships do.
I was about to say, I was trying to work out the whaling joke.
Extensive investigation into what whales taste like. But yeah, the Matsu has a lot of issues with protests. There was
just force of habit. You see a Japanese ship with research painted down the side. You're like, all right, I'm getting on the Greenpeace boat.
Man. I don't want to be 731. No,
in this case, they had a minor radiation incident when they powered up the reactor, either the first time or very early in the ship's career. And when they tried to return to the port, they were blockaded by local fishermen. They're like, "Get this radioactive bullshit out of here." right? And eventually they just were like, okay, it can return to port only if you immediately find a new home part, which they did. This thing never carried cargo. It covered 82,000 miles, converted to diesel in 1996. Now they use it for research still, and whatever that
monument to ignorance.
Yeah.
Once again, I refer back to the old poster, like radiation does not demand your fear, only your respect.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the Smeborput.
Oh boy!
I see Rosatomflot across
Yes.
the thing, which means we have an even split on nuclear ships between winning side and losing side of the Second World War.
Yes. So this is the Russian one. It is still operating.
Neat.
The Russians don't like decommissioning ships. You know who likes decommissioning Russian ships? The Ukrainian Navy. No one else.
Yeah. No, this is no, they just keep them like barely afloat
forever.
Well, did you see the Ukrainians sank the oldest operating warship in the world a couple of months ago? Like it was, I forget what it was called, but it was like launched in 1917.
Jesus
it was like a sort
Christ.
of, like fleet auxiliary, like it started out as like a coaler and oiler, and the Ukrainians sank it with like a drone.
Wow.
Like this year.
You don't need to be doing all this, Russia. You could just go home.
You just probably just go home, yeah. So this is what's called a lash carrier. That's lighter aboard ship, right? It has a bunch of what's called lighters on board. They're like tiny barges. They just sort of stack them up on top of each other.
I just like fling them out there?
Yeah, if they're near a port too small to handle the ship, these are just dumped into the water, and then a tugboat comes and brings them into port, right? If it's not carrying that, it can also carry shipping containers. It had the misfortune of launching only 2 years after the incident at Chernobyl in 1988. The ship was launched in 1988. Chernobyl was in 1986. Anyway, so it experienced lots of protests on its first voyage from Murmansk to Vladivostok, and ports refused entry to the ship. Mm-hmm. International routes for which the ship were intended to run were limited. No one trusted a nuclear ship unless it had been built by the Americans.
Oh,
that's right, baby.
You guys were the only people in the world who could have done this, and you like fucked it up.
Yeah,
that sounds about right. That sounds like us.
No one refuses entry to port for an American aircraft.
No, because we won't let them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does that say port closed? Let me introduce you to the F-22 now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna make Commodore Perry look like a pussy.
Yeah. So it wound up running around on Arctic Circle routes. Had a lot of difficulty refueling in the 1990s because of reasons.
Yeah,
right?
all of that fissile material was being like extracted
sent
for
to
like
the nuclear mafia. Yes.
Yeah, that's going to my cousin Boris.
Yeah. Several different Tom Clancy books are happening at once.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually laid up in 2007, and they were almost going to scrap it, but they returned it to service in 2016. Now it mostly does nefarious Russian military transport, as opposed to our good and wholesome American military transport.
Sure.
Our humanitarian pier versus their nefarious military transport.
Exactly.
If the Ukrainians sink this, is that gonna like fuck anybody over? How's their pressure vessel looking?
They don't send this thing anywhere near Ukraine.
I've learned, if there's one thing I've learned about Ukraine lately, it's that's not a disqualification from being bombed by Ukraine.
Sometimes it carries civilian cargo, but one of the most infamous incidents was relatively recently. On the way down to deliver prefab building panels to Vostok Station in Antarctica, it got about as far as the equator, and the propeller fell off.
Meanwhile, there's a like Ukrainian remote controlled glider full of C4, just like one of the fucking like ultralight like solar aircraft, just like circling above, just like fucking get him, get his ass.
And then it's like, no, I can't get his ass. It's already it's wounded. They actually had to send divers down to remove another propeller to balance the ship, and it had to sort of limp home.
Jesus,
this is like going to be one of the big prestige missions for this ship, and it's like the Russian Navy, the Russian Navy going around the Horn of Africa has historically been a bad idea.
Core incompetency.
Yeah. This continues to be an issue.
Don't the Russians also have a couple of nuclear icebreakers? I don't know if they're nuclear or not, but I think about the Yamal, the sort of most
I believe you can even take
ship.
I believe you can take a cruise on one of these things.
They have a bunch of them, and they are actually building even more of them.
I mean,
and these aren't like cargo ships. I mean, these are used for opening navigation channels for, whatever the Russians are doing up there.
Decreasingly likely to be needed given the whole, sulfur thing.
Some Call of Duty plot point shit.
Northern Sea Route open all year.
They gotta find some ice and break it.
Yeah. Hunting down the last iceberg and fucking 9/11.
Like a passenger.
You gotta earn that shark mouth painted on the bow,
Gonna have to sell it to Port of Montreal. Open up Duluth for year-round shipping. I don't know if it can fit in the Seaway. I guess we'll find out.
It's an icebreaker. It's gonna make itself fit.
Oh yeah, it's gone from icebreaker to Seaway and larger.
What they had to do for the SO Northumbria, but just all the time.
Yeah,
the canal dilator.
Oh, I went to the gynecologist the other day. What's up?
So what's in the future for nuclear ships?
Northern Sea Route.
A bunch of people on Tumblr are kind of jotting down Liam Trans ? In their notebooks.
No. My wife had to go to the gynecologist yesterday, and I had to hear about it.
Saluting.
Yeah.
So, right now, as evidenced by the Francis Scott Key Bridge being annihilated,
the
ships just keep getting bigger and heavier, right? These large container ships and bulkers, they're getting bigger. They're bigger than the biggest aircraft carriers and have been for decades now. Nuclear technology has improved with more inherently safe reactors, small modular reactors, things of that nature. I don't think anyone's actually built a small modular reactor. I might be wrong about that.
You should really get on that. Fucking kick us off onto the Fallout universe timeline.
Yeah, well, apparently, I mentioned New York shipbuilding earlier in Camden, New Jersey. That land is currently occupied by a company that wants to build small modular reactors.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if they're going to build them right there. It'd be very funny that you're like, yeah, we're going to build nuclear reactors in one of the most built up areas of the East Coast.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. Good luck to you. I hope you don't fuck up.
Yeah, please don't. I like living in Philly.
Yeah, exactly. I live across the river. Come on. So if you couple this with the difficulty of coming up with climate-friendly propulsion ship systems for very large, very heavy ships, it may just be time to reconsider the economics of the nuclear-powered cargo ship.
Well, it's that or sails, and people have tried, like
sails are just not enough for something this big.
Sure,
you can see sort of sail-assisted, kind of like a plug-in hybrid, effectively.
Yeah, it's like you get sail-assisted. You got like the weird things, like the two big rotating cylinders. I forget what that's called. Yeah. They help, but they're not enough to like just move the thing on its own. At least not very fast. So this is a rendering.
We need our treats urgently. So
this is a rendering from the China State Shipbuilding Corporation. This would be a demonstration project for a 24,000 TEU, that's 20-foot equivalent unit. Ultra large nuclear powered container ship.
This isn't like an endorsement of everything the Chinese state does, because it's a state and it's a superpower and it acts like one. And it does a bunch of the same fucked up shit that America does. But like some of the research and development and like industry stuff that's happening in China is like, man, really impressive, really interesting.
It's usually what happens when you try.
Yeah, being channeled into stuff like electric cars, which is still like, not a solution in a lot of ways, but like it's still impressive, the stuff that's happening. And like clearly there is some effort to make this like greener, even in one of the world's largest polluters, right? But it's not going to be thrilling watching all of this and also your ability to get like new computer chips destroyed in a sort of futile and pointless war between the superpowers.
Well, November, we don't have to do research and development here, because in 5 years, AI will do it for us.
Shut up. Shut the hell up.
We just watch Finance Capital just slash through every physical industry in the entire West.
Private equity's coming for college football, and I'm so fucking
There's
mad
going to
about
be
it.
only 2 places which are capable of like doing basic manufacturing, and they're going to be China and Russia.
I don't like the future very much.
Would you say that it's a trash future, Nova?
I think we're on the cusp of a trash future, and the trash future will begin at the moment that like some Taiwanese guy has to hit the big detonate the fabs button.
Yeah.
So the power plant on this thing would be a high temperature but low pressure molten salt reactor, which minimizes the danger from things like a meltdown, right? Because the thing about molten salt reactors is they're molten. They can't melt down because they're supposed to be like that.
It's a melt up.
Yeah, exactly. That would be it. And if they cool down, then they're not reacting anymore. You know, if they solidify, right? There's some companies in Norway and South Korea, I believe, which are they're proposing to convert existing ships to nuclear power using small modular reactors. There's still some unresolved issues, though. One of the big ones, at least engineering wise, is that the reactors last longer than the ships do. Reactors are going to last 50, even 80 years. Ships, big, heavy cargo ships, a lot of times they're done in like 20 years. Unless they're on the Great Lakes, then they last forever. So, likely the future we're looking at here in terms of nuclear powered ship is going to be like small modular reactors that can be swapped in and out of ships, right? And then there's big legal challenges, right? Like who's to blame if there's some kind of catastrophic radiation release in a port?
To be fair, like we haven't really figured out like satisfactorily who's to blame if there's a catastrophic fertilizer release in a port.
Yes.
Like
that's true.
Yeah,
it's not to say that the current shipping industry is a sort of model of health when it comes to like legal attributability.
There was actually a treaty proposed about this in 1962 when the Savannah was, about to not circumnavigate the globe. But no one signed it because there was some kind of dispute over whether warships were involved too. I didn't look into that too hard. But apparently Lloyd's Register is working on the legal issues right now of nuclear ships. So at least on the private side, this may be coming to something. Your other issues, of course, are regulation and nuclear proliferation. The modern shipping ecosystem is just not necessarily conducive to nuclear power, right? Because ultimately, even if China shipbuilding company builds this thing, it's going to wind up registered in Liberia or Panama or in the Marshall Islands, and they'll be in charge of regulating and inspecting, all these big nuclear ships.
I'm the Liberian government nuclear reactor inspector.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I have to inspect the nuclear reactor that's owned by a company that you have no idea, and then it's chartered out to a weird Greek guy.
It's kind of funny that like in order to make this work, you have to fix all the major issues in the like commercial shipping industry.
Yes, exactly. You gotta run a tighter ship.
Yeah, I mean, basically to make this work, I was joking about like federalizing everything, but it only works with a merchant marine.
Yes.
And it only works with training a lot of like your own people to be like mariners, which might be nice in a time of like extreme unemployment, but who am I to say?
We did fix one thing in that most of the marine unions have now consolidated.
Yeah, well, we're ticking boxes off,
Yeah, exactly. You got the issue of proliferation. Like, I don't know, China Shipbuilding sells a nuclear ship to Zim, the Israeli shipping company. They decide to load it with parts for the new Child Mutilator 9000 weapon system. They run it through the Suez Canal. All of a sudden, the Houthis find themselves in possession of a lot of fissile material.
Was there a downside coming?
Okay, that is funny, but I think that does result in some security issues. So you want to avoid like proliferation issues here. You want to these nuclear reactors are going to have to run on low enriched uranium, and thus they're going to be relatively large. I mean, that's
still
not
though. Shout out to the first Somali pirate to become a nuclear power.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty fun.
Good luck to you.
Some progress has been made on like miniaturizing the CANDU reactor. That's the Canada deuterium uranium reactor that runs on straight unenriched uranium. Another reactor which can do this is the RBMK. But I don't.
Yes, mobile Chernobyl.
I don't know that you want to put that on a ship. These reactors being relatively large is not so much of a problem anymore because the ships are so damn big. But you don't want to. You can't like just take a nuclear reactor out of an aircraft carrier where they're using the weapons grade stuff and plop it in one of these.
Not with that attitude.
You got to develop something new because otherwise, I don't know. As much as again, it would be funny if the Houthis had an atom bomb. I think we should probably, in practice, avoid that.
Yeah. Limiting the number of Tom Clancy novels that happen in real life.
Yeah,
yes.
They nuked Baltimore.
That was the Nazis who nuked Baltimore, I'll have you know, and they killed President Morgan Freeman.
Wow. But I think these are surmountable problems. The civilian nuclear naval propulsion should be given a second chance here. Like the original Savannah, maybe the NS Savannah was just too ahead of its time.
Yeah, I mean, sure as fuck, we're not doing degrowth, So
Yeah.
we got to make the growth
exactly.
in some way sustainable. In which case, yeah, fuck it, give the Houthis whatever,
Yeah, exactly. Or we stick with marine diesel engines and have to design new hulls to ride the boiling oceans. Who knows?
I really don't like the phrase "ride the boiling oceans."
I also don't like that.
Yeah.
We gotta figure something out with Taiwan is the main thing.
Yes.
And the key thing is I'm consistent about this between Ukraine and Palestine and Taiwan. I believe in self-determination, right? I think the only answer therefore is to tow it geographically further from China. If you put it on the other side of the 9- line, less worried about it.
Did the Chinese actually care about Taiwan?
Deeply, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like if I don't know what's something Americans care deeply about. It's sort of like if the NFL was run by another country.
Oh no,
no,
we will invade.
like France and Algeria.
Yeah, well, yeah, sort of. There's a lot of valences in that question that I mean, in the sense that it's sort of because it doesn't exactly map onto the.
Yep. The French teacher at my high school would go off if you mentioned Algeria.
Oh God, Pied Noirs are a fun group, man.
Wow. Okay.
So, sorry, no, I'm just gonna be thinking about that for a minute.
Yeah.
So, Taiwan, China's Algeria.
Jesus.
Chinese Algeria.
Chinese Algeria. It's not a phrase I wanted to hear.
I've been waiting ages for that Guns N' Roses album.
All right, let's release Nova from hell.
The wretched of the earth, brackets Taiwanese.
Hurry up, I have to poop.
All right, what did we learn?
We should probably nuclearize, but also drastically reform commercial shipping.
Yes. We have a VLCC episode coming when I write it.
We could walk and chew gum at the same time.
I can. Can you?
Yeah.
I can. I can. You don't like gum. I can't text and walk
gum, so I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, of course you fucking don't. I can't walk and text really well. I have to stop, and then Corinne's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like, "I can't do both, man." I'm 200 years old.
I'm not chewing gum. I have the kind of disorder that makes your jaw fucked up. Also, I can really freak people out with this sometimes. When it fucks up, I can unintentionally click my jaw so loud.
I can do that too.
People across the room will be like, "Jesus Christ, are you okay?"
Freaks my mom out, but I keep doing it because I think it's funny to annoy my mother.
I can't not do it. It's good that I have a job that involves talking for a living.
Yeah. You could you could do it if you want to annoy some people with mesophenia.
The thing I've always thought of as a fallback plan is if I ever like encounter a kind of like injury or like disease or disability that impairs my ability to talk, we hook me up to the TikTok text-to-speech thing.
Yeah, it's fine.
And I just type my way through that. Like I'm kind of like the kind of TikTok Stephen Hawking voice.
Hopefully without the pedophilia.
I would like to think so.
Yes. People are garbage.
We don't know what he did on the Epstein Island. We just know he was there.
We can infer. I think. I don't think it's unfair to infer.
I think it's fair to say he was implicated as the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to avoid being on the Epstein Island.
You want to avoid being implicated if you could avoid it.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So folks, I guess that's what we learned from this episode is that if you find a time machine, go back in time and make the oil crisis happen a little earlier so we get nuclear ships. And also, since you have that time machine, do not use it to go to the Epstein Island afterwards.
No, and also
you could use it to go to the Epstein Island before when he first shows up. You're there with a gun.
Yeah,
like, that'd be funny.
He gets off the boat, just like, yeah, check out my cool new island, and you like kill Epstein.
I disagree. Shoot him with a crossbow.
Yeah, no, I came here with my time machine to Epstein Island with my friend Che Guevara to kill Epstein. Oh, shoot, coward! I am only a man.
Yeah,
now the shoe's on the other foot.
How you like that, asshole?
All right. I don't know why I immediately thought Che Guevara, other than it's an island in the Caribbean.
Well, now that the delusion has set it,
yeah, exactly. We have a segment on this podcast called "Safety Third."
Shake hands for danger.
Ooh, women owned.
Yes.
I know they are. I have a Twitter account.
Hi, Justin, November, and Liam.
I saw you change the name. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a courtesy to the writer.
Thank you. Yeah, I assume this came in before I changed it to something ridiculous.
No, it didn't.
Oh, motherfuckers.
Anyway, my son occasionally chastises me for being too impulsive. When he heard this story, he said, "That's a safety third." So here it goes.
I don't know that safety third should be like something that's like being passed down generationally.
This is a family podcast.
Oh God, it is.
WTYP is for the children.
Yeah, exactly. Years ago, well before the invasive species advocatus ad infinitum drove the last nails into the coffin of free-range childhood, I worked at a summer camp in western Pennsylvania. Somewhere between, I've never heard of this town before.
It's tiny. It's in southwestern Pennsylvania. It's in Fayette County.
Ohio Pile?
Good enough, dude.
It's like ancient Greek Ohiopole.
Oh, yeah. And Johnstown. It was a rustic setup. The only actual buildings were the dining hall.
Where falling water is. Does that help?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still never been there.
I'll take you.
Yeah. The dining hall.
Bang your head on the ceilings.
Office, and a winterized lodge. All the other structures were 3/4-inch walled wooden cabins, some with screens, and platform tents. The 8 to 15-year-old campers' chores included cleaning and filling the kerosene lanterns, pouring powdered lime into the outhouses, checking the wood pile for snakes, and dunking plates, cups, silverware, and hands into bleach water after meals. Staff took it in turns to check the bear trap on the trail to the shower house. Assuming the trap was empty, we'd cover it with a tarp so as to not worry the little ones. You get the idea, right?
Uh-huh. Prelapsarian sort of pre-risk assessment time of extreme danger.
Don't look at the bear trap. It won't hurt you if you don't look at it or step on it. Staff arrived a week before the first campers for training, much of which involved knocking spider webs from the eaves or sweeping out a winter's worth of mouse shit. Scrubbing the cement swimming pool was a particular rite of passage, usually done on the hottest, sunniest day of training.
Ugh.
We began by raking or shoveling in wet years out all the leaves, sticks, and occasional snake. For scrubbing, we had stiff, long-handled push brooms. rust spots, and algae, both accumulated around the ladders, got a healthy splash of CLR. That's calcium, lime, and rust remover.
So this would just be acid, yes.
Yes. And a scrub brush. A hose kept the debris moving towards the drain at the deep end. One year, we found ourselves scrubbing after lunch on a scorcher of a June day. Things started off well enough, but enthusiasm soon waned. Then someone found several 5-gallon pails of pool chlorine in the pump room. Now that'll speed things up.
Mm-hmm.
So we drizzled the chlorine down the sides of the deep end, and this created quite the heady cocktail when it hit the CLR.
Oh, boy.
We need to stop getting safety thirds from people who have done First World War gas attacks on themselves.
Roz once made a low-grade chemical weapons lab in our basement, but that was an accident.
That basement's seen 2
When
out
did I
of
do
4
that?
of the points of
the
the
old house.
CBRN square.
I definitely did that at the old Formula SAE lab, or I assisted in that. I didn't do that. Super Death Cleaner did work extremely well.
4235, you created a low-grade chemical weapons lab that made me sick.
Anyway.
Moving swiftly on.
Needless to say,
have you been
progress
personally
slowed.
victimized by Justin Rosiak? You may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Yeah, go
Wasn't me.
Go ahead, bud.
Needless to say, progress slowed. No longer simply summer staff scrubbing the deep end. We'd become soldiers in the trenches at Ypres. Ypres. I don't know how things. Okay. Ypres. Torn between duty and a desire to breathe. Even the toughest scrubber only lasted about 3 minutes before, eyes streaming and lungs burning, they'd climb out and collapse on the deck.
I served the Soviet Union ass.
Remarkably, no comment was made when we all showed up to dinner, red-eyed and sniffling.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for making one podcast my kid and I both enjoy, sometimes even together.
Aw.
From
so
Kimberly.
welcome. Thanks, Kimberly. Please try not to gas yourself or anyone else.
Yeah. Or especially not your kid. They're less resistant to that.
Yeah, you need once you're in adulthood, you can sort of tank a bit of chlorine gas, but
yeah, you can knock off a couple of months of life, no problem.
Because kids are closer to being born, you knock a couple of months of life off them, they actually go sort of a stack underflow thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like you might actually stop existing entirely.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah. Well. That was Safety Third.
Shake hands with danger.
Our next episode is on Chernobyl. Does anyone have any commercials before we go?
All of the Palestinian charity and GoFundMe stuff that we talked about earlier. And yeah, listen to Lions Led by Donkeys, listen to Kill James Bond, listen to Trash Future. Subscribe to Justin's YouTube channel,
Yeah. Liam and I were on Anders Lee's podcast, The Vanquished, talking about the Prohibition Party recently.
That was pretty good.
That was a pretty fun one. I got to talk about how everyone prior to about 1850 in the United States was, at the very least, buzzed all the time. And not for a lack of clean drinking water either.
No.
Just for fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it.
That's it.
It's a podcast.
All right, that's a podcast. Subscribe to our Patreon, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.